thing in the budget is not a budget that engaging us as Dominicans continuing in the same CBI program. And earlier on today, I listened to some of what Thompson Fountain had to say, and he was straight on point with a lot of them things, like the budget not taking no risk, it not pushing into the future, it not diversifying the economies, which is most importantly moving away from the CBI program. So them is things that is really important, to move away from the CBI program and diversify the economy. So, because the CBI in itself, it on the dying legs, really and truly. I mean, eventually going to have to close down. So if we have the time, we should be taking the time to diversify the economy from the CBI, and there is something that is not being done. But even more so, the general outlook, the general vision of Dominica, for Dominica, it continues in the same practice of just importing Chinese to realize our infrastructural development, and in so doing, we're not developing ourselves as a people, as a society, and nothing changing. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. So to have this to just have this budget that frankly that just don't make any sense to me. I mean, government supposed to be regulators, and it's a thing we just always speak about it. Government supposed to be regulators. Government should allow the private sector. I mean, wherever the private sector cannot deal with things, the government would pick up the slack. But the government supposed to allow the private sector to develop and to take charge of the economy, because government in itself cannot provide for everybody. But everybody can provide for themselves. And where the society go in slack, the government would cover up and make the shortfall. But that is not what we see with the budget. We hear about the Lubia water plant to take it over, and a few other things. So it just it's like we're going back in that old school communism kind of a thinking and communism kind of approach, which when you look at countries like China, realize that those things not working. When you look at countries like Cuba, we have the exact same problems that Cuba have been having, garbage collection, poor management of the state resources, and just a general decline in our population. We see mass migration, brain drain. So we're suffering from brain drain. And I mean, to combat those problems, we need a vision, a holistic vision, an integrated approach. Yes, the economy is one aspect of it. What about the political aspect of it? We need to restructure our political environment. We need to restructure our administrative environment, the way in which our government function. That inherent corruption of the government, where we have the same people that run the parliament is the same people that run cabinet. So you have one group of people running two branches of government. Government is made up of three branches, which is the judiciary, the parliament, and the cabinet. Executive, legislative, and judiciary. So there is the three branches of government. Now, those three branches need reform, you check, because we have seen the structural failures of those three branches. I mean, why should we continue along those lines of this inherent corruption in our political system? You check. And part of what we proposing is that we have strict separation of powers. You check me. Elected members of parliament should not be able to be part of the cabinet. You know, and cabinet would be answerable to parliament. Presently as it is, people cannot answer to themselves. Parliament cannot call cabinet to come and answer why they do things like that and other things like that, you know. Be responsible to the society, to the citizens, to the residents of the land. And that in itself is a structural failure. That is that needs to be readdressed. So, yeah, we have that aspect of it, we have the economical aspect of it, and we still have the socio-cultural aspect of it. So, these different aspects needs to be addressed. I mean, when you look at our socio-cultural, again, we come up with the solution of implementing municipal governments by strengthening, so making our local governments even stronger and giving more autonomy to the citizenry, where people can more govern themselves. Presently, we see a budget, and to me, I don't see the participation of the citizenry in the budget that people would be able to suggest, well, okay, that is what they would like to see in their community. This is the type of development. This is what they would like to see get fixed. This is what they would like to see get enhanced. Nothing like that. Where is the participation? And we say we in democracy. We check as democracy, we have to find ways and means of getting as much of us being able to participate in what belongs to us, and Dominica belongs to all of us, whether some of us might agree on how to go forward or how to develop the country. At the end of the day, it belongs to all of us. So all of us should be able to have a say in how our environment developing, and I believe until we do deal with those issues, we will just be in a cycle of non-progressiveness. Yes, we might have a bit of ups, we might have some up, we'll have a lot of down, we'll still be suffering from brain drain, we're still suffering from just poor economics, because as long as we're suffering from brain drain, it's going to lead to a lot of other things, and the budget in no way, shape or form addressing none of those issues. I mean, yes, it put in some patches on certain things and trying to butter people mouth and butter people and try to make people think that something different is going to be done. But when you look at it, well, if after 25 years, this group of people are not capable of moving the economy, I definitely don't think that they're going to be able to do it right now. Not in 5 years, not in 10 years, not in 15 years. Because they have had long-term planning. Skerrit has been Prime Minister from since 2004. That's 21 years now. And he has had the opportunity, he has changed. Although his core people remain the same, man like Blackmore, Reginald Austray. Well, Reginald Austray retired, but I see he's still there. and a few other people. The core kind of remains the same, and he changed some people around him, which leaves their practice as normal. It's the same normal practice for 20 years, 21 years and counting. And they have not been able to boost the economy. They have not been able to inspire people towards that level of change that is required in Dominica to be able to have that prosperity in our society. So I think, not I think, no, to me, 20 years is long term. Anything from 15 years is long term. And if you have had 20 years to plan and execute your vision, and the vision we are seeing here in Dominica presently is not a vision that most of us would be proud of. It's not a vision that we are appreciating. I mean, we're living in an environment that is highly stressed. And we hear it from the doctor at the psychiatric unit. 7 attempted suicides. That is one a day on a weekly basis. So you have at least one attempted suicide a day. I mean, come on, that is, the murder rate has gone up more than triple. If you look from the 90s to now, back in the 90s, you'd have like what, 4 murders, 6 murders a year. Right now we're on what, 11, and we just a little above half of the year. So our murder rate has basically tripled, almost tripled. And what we have to show for it really as a society, as a people, I mean, not much. Our educational system down. Back in the day, you'd hardly find somebody that could not read and write. I mean, now you have children attending high school and having difficulties being able to read and write. So, we as the people in the society, I think it's on us to really take up our responsibility to start to acknowledge our shortcomings and agree to address it. I think that is really fundamental. We've been able to agree to address our shortcomings. And let's make government what government should be, a regulator. Allow the private economy the private sector to develop the country, because it's the private sector. People can provide solutions to their problems. You check. Allow people to be able to provide the solutions to their problems. Government should be facilitating that create that environment, encourage that environment for growth, for prosperity. And when we look at those large nations that we look up to most of the times, and we look back in their history, we can see they realize that is what has been needed. That is what took China out of poverty. When they realize you cannot keep pressing people down and holding people down. Communism, the type of communism that they had back in the day, they were suppressing their people, and they realized that wasn't working. That led them to poverty. The same thing is happening in Cuba today, and other countries that have that kind of authoritarian kind of a vibes, totalitarian kind of a vibes. Countries like Venezuela. You have to liberate people, man. Allow people to do what they want to do. Government just supposed to regulate. People have the solutions. Give people the opportunity to implement their solutions. Facilitate the access to cash or funds. You check, a man have a business idea. He'd have to have 100% for him to get a loan. Them is the kind of a way. Create that environment where people can have trust in state institutions and even private institutions. That is what that is needed.
A regulator of regulators.
Yeah, you need proper regulation, a meritocracy system, stamp out the corruption.
But it be
You check
regulators,
because when you look at it, it have
chief regulators or
it have a lot of things that need to be addressed, man. You check me. We have a tax code that was designed for on a colonial system, and we never truly address it. We just added things to it like VAT and so on, and really consolidated those taxes. But we never really looked at the tax and see how we can, okay, we should have a general decline in the tax, encourage business, encourage trade. You check me, encourage exchange, regional, international, different trade. We're signatories to how many treaties, and we're not taking advantages of none of those things. You check, we are signatory to NAFTA, North America Free Trade Agreement, CARICOM, OECS, right here. I listening to them man talking about trying to get markets in Europe and all those places. We have
so. We are
markets.
saying about markets in Europe.
When they talk about the water in the parliament, they
Hold on,
mention
hold
about getting
on. Let me,
1 second.
let me comment on that.
So we have markets right here in the Caribbean, right here in the OECS, right here in CARICOM, and extension in the region. You look at places like NAFTA, even South America, North America. We're part of ALBA, we're part of NAFTA. So we have access to markets. We need to push, and really enter those markets and make our goods be available. But we need to produce. So we have to facilitate those lines of production. We have to facilitate the creation of those production. Encourage people, give them incentives. People that want to do things like Bello factory, people that want to do all them different things, the water factory. Allow the private sector to deal with them things. Government cannot just take up everything and try to take up everything for itself. Government supposed to be dealing with the shortfall. Well, Flacco want to say something. That's
Well, you see, like you say, when politicians who are supposed to be the regulators step out of their boundaries, you have things like that, competing interests, and you have the politicians now leaning on the side of foreign interests, and you can clearly see that. You check me. So look at, for example, the whole thing of the water, the marijuana, what else? A lot of the agreements that you're talking about, right? The basis of those things there is standardization, standards. So anytime you're talking about having an industry in cannabis, in water, in anything that where you're going to be tapping into those international agreements there, you have to meet these standards. So you cannot be talking about marijuana and water and all them things, and you're not talking about putting tens of millions into the Bureau of Standards, my brother, because that is a direct part of what you're speaking to there, of policy, which is affecting the productivity of every section of the society. You check I saying? So marijuana, we want to do medical marijuana. Who going to be carrying out the testing? You check me? Who going to be dealing with the standardizations that making it, you know, of the level of the quality, you know, to be accepted in those markets where you have people like, let's say, for example, Guadeloupe and Martinique just there, where you have their population being affected by the use of chemical fertilizer and pesticides. You check? And those people have studied those things there in their population, and they have made policy so that that will protect the lives of their citizens. So what you think, they will just open the door for us, that no testing, that don't have no Bureau of Standards, no robust mechanisms there to shake hands with our manufacturers, to shake hands with our producers, to ensure that when we put it, sending out our produce there, it's certified, tested, and of the quality that's required for those markets. You check me? So whenever you see these guys talk about those industries and how they have, they all of a sudden, they it come out of their. You check me? I know it's just hot air. It's just them and just boom in. You check me? Because they don't want to take on the responsibility of building a Bureau of Standards. You check me? So they will talk, they will pull out things like privatize and private and foreign thing out of their ass. You check me? Because they don't want to accept the responsibility that that is what they have to do. You check me? To allow the other sectors of the society, of the economy to thrive. Because like you rightly say, Pyro, a lot of people know what need to be done, A lot of people making their jam, they're making their products, But can those products ever reach on the shelf of a supermarket like Carrefour? You check me? Can it reach in Walmart and those places there without a Bureau of Standards to hold their hands and to guide the standardization to meet the requirements of those agreements? You check me? So when you see them fellas come with their budget and thing, and I talking a little informal now, you check me? I just really feel, like it's just more of the same. And I kind of identify when people don't even really want to listen to them fellas there, you check? But I just feel like I pass the point of getting upset with these guys, and I feel sometimes to listen, to stay informed, and to be able to, you check, to survive their chaos. You check me? Because a lot of them overstepping their boundaries and they creating the chaos, like the what we see there with the grammar school building. You check, I telling you, when you overstep your boundaries and you abandon your function, that is what happens. A twofold. Yeah.
If a man take peace in your land and you don't do nothing about it, what do you expect? It's not his own automatically. Huh? If a man jump your boundary, the boundary is supposed to be separating you and your neighbor. Your neighbor agree to help with the boundary and take more on your land. And you don't say nothing, you don't do nothing. What are you going to expect to happen? So who to be blamed? Who to blame? Huh? So you're right. You can, if you want to get vexed with these people that put in their legislation in place, then you only wasting your time. We have to get vexed with one another for not taking part, for not wanting to voice our opinion about the wrongs that are happening to us. We just accepting it and saying so it is, It's just like you're talking about the whole marijuana process. Even if we sit down there and say all what we want to say and we don't taking part in it, my boy, it have no sense, You understand? That is what I be telling people. We're talking about the marijuana industry and those things. What we as a people that suffer from it, saying about it, what are we doing about it? When you tell a man, look, they have a concentration going on there, he's saying, boy, me, I'm not involved in that now, boy. But he's a ganja man that get brutalized from the ganja all the time, but he don't want to know if it have a benefits there for him. We can just sit down there and just sell our service, so it is, and just waiting for the bread to share, and then we're thinking that we'll get our piece, And don't do nothing to know, well, we deserve that piece of the bread, We have to do something to know what we deserve, brother. We've been struggling from it all the time. We can't be keeping ourselves in that level of ignorance all the time. We have to come out from the ignorance and take a step forward, you understand? Because if the industries and not if the industry is a thing that we know now, we know the industry making money. You understand? So if we see in the system want to put a thing in place to take it away from us, and we just sit down there and say, so it is, we trapping on my boy, because with the whole marijuana situation there, and wanting to put license and legislations and things in place, and we as the strugglers in the marijuana all the time, not doing nothing about it or saying nothing about it, we're going to struggle. Because when they come about to the license, who can afford the license, that will do their thing, you know. And if a man agree to the license, he keep planting his marijuana illegally, the police still have a right to arrest you, you know. Because you don't have a license. It's just like Dens with his rum factory in Makushui, huh? Have his legal license to make his rum. And a man under the bush, wherever, in whichever area, Daily, so wherever, or in the heights in Kinsey, you understand? Let's call it like that. With a factory, they're making its illegal rum and still supplying to the market, and that giving Dens blues. And Dens get to know that. You think he don't say something about it?
Well, you see,
He going to complain about it?
that is why the policymakers have to stay in their lane. The policymakers need to stay in their lane. You check I saying? This afternoon there, when they were talking about all those things there, we didn't hear nothing about that, about reparations and about further in the discussion about those things there. You check me? All we hear is a set of vague responses. Oh, we're going to move the landfill, and we're going to set up a committee to review the minimum wage and those kind of things. You check I telling you? After 20 years, you still have to set up a committee, my brother. You check me? Those things there is things that should be data that readily available, because you're actively working on that. You check I telling you? If you say in your budgeting, my brother, you budgeting for your household. You check me? You know you have long-term goals you want to meet for your family. You have short-term goals that you check me? But my brother, how much you going to neglect your short-term needs, your thing for your family, for those long-term aspirations? You check me? Things that mightn't even come. You understand? You're not considering the health of your family. You check I telling you? So when I look at the whole thing of what them man want to give like how they say it, give concessions on. First thing the man talk about smoke airing. I check in, boy. What from there? You see from there, I get a little upset, my brother. You check I telling you. Big I check in, my boy, them man, my boy is like, them man not living in the same reality that we live in. You check I telling you. These guys want to keep us in the posture of consumption without no way of producing value. You check me? No way of producing economic value, so that in the end, we can even end up being able to consume more. You check I telling you? Because we able to produce, we able to increase our value, and our collective value, and we able to consume more. Okay? But rather they want us to get blood out of stone. You check I telling you? Smoke herring, codfish, oats, what else now? I hear they take out thing on almond milk and soy milk, my friend. So you'll have to find some way to make a little money with almond milk and soy milk, eh? You check me? Because you see, yes. All those things are things we important. But what I'm saying is, what about the other things that we use to create value? You understand? That help to stimulate and to grow the economy. Well, they throw back the highway levy on us, eh? They jam back the. Well, They tell you already, they'll give with one hand and take with the other.
What you
So
giving and what you taking it don't matter according to Shelley, nah.
boy.
That map don't matter in there, nah.
But definitely we have seen that we have been suffering in the short term for those long term aspirations. You check me?
Yeah, Flacco, Jan told her talk about some things there, but at the end of the day, I mean, you talk about the long term, short term, even in the long term planning, that man have no real long term planning. Like I tell you earlier on,
None.
we see it for
Just playing for time.
for 20 years. It's all about patch a problem there, patch a problem there. No real structural approach, no real scientific approach to the issues that we facing as a society. And today we see in it to check. We see the effects of 20 years of just poor administration. You check me, and over those 20 years, like told her checking man don't to participate in certain things, and it didn't just happen. It didn't just happen. I mean, people gradually lost confidence and lost trust in those state institutions, in the whole poor administration, square pegs in wrong hole. All those things have contributed towards this environment that we're living in, and it will take some work to fix it. I mean, it's not a thing that is a rocket science that you're gonna have to burst your brain over. You check me? But at the end of the day, it go take a little work, it go take a little effort, it go take some coordination. It's not like you have to reinvent the wheel. Other countries have been through similar situations. We can learn some experience. We can learn. You check me? So it's a situation where the disillusion is there. It's not like to say you have to go and invent some high level science or some. No, man, disillusion there. Disillusion there. We need to restructure the government, is one. We need to have clear lines of communication, two. We check, people have to know who in charge, who not in charge, what is the structure, what is the hierarchy of the government. You go into one person, they telling you no, not them. Go to that person sending you back. So, and it's a bounce around and a play game thing. You check me until you just agree, you finish it that you do. And it's so people losing trust and faith in the institutions. So the hierarchy is something that has to be re-established. The separation of powers is another one. You have to put in mechanisms to reduce the corruption, and those are part of it. I mean, when you look at local government is the first line of contact that the citizenry has with the government, and you have to strengthen local government. Strengthening local government is something that is essential to democracy. You need a strong local government, a decentralized government, so you can have solutions. Because all areas, those facing the same problem, in different areas facing different problems. You check me? The problem you might have in Newton is not the problem you might have in Kinsale. The problem you might have in Kinsale is not the problem you might have Bagatelle. You check? So you have to allow areas to come up with their solutions. A decentralized government. You check me? And allow it to function. Not just allow central government to manipulate things like how it is happening now. Strengthen the local government. Make municipalities. Them thing is part of the solution. people can protect, because even in certain areas the culture different. Like for instance, in spot like Marigot, Wesley, they speak in Kokoi. Most of the rest of Dominica speak Creole, English. So you allow the people to protect their culture, develop their vibes, and it's just a shame. The check is a shame because I mean we have minds, we have great minds that come from Dominica. Great minds. Manat has done some serious contribution to other countries and even to us right here in Dominica. And to see this is the state that we are in today, that not even those minds that out there want to participate in what is happening in Dominica. You check? People very reluctant to participate in what happening in Dominica. Most people that kind of eager and busy and pushing to do that participation is people that into the corruption, a lot of them. You check? But the power has to be redistributed. You check? And to me, any political party that come in there and not addressing the power dynamics in our political structure, to me they're not addressing the issue of our society. And this is something that requires the utmost attention, because the system in itself, it is inherently corrupt, and part of dealing with the corruption is taking away that inherent corruption. Strict separation of powers. You cannot be in cabinet and still be in parliament. Cabinet supposed to be able to come and answer to parliament, so the people, we the civilians, can question our ministers on how they implementing what they do, what the vision that parliament has created through the policies. And it's something that because presently the system not functioning, just not functioning, and it's been reflected. How many citizens, how many of us contributed to that budget that was read? It's supposed to be a budget debate, but where is the debate? Where is the debate? One set of fellas just come and they just present a thing, and that was it. Yeah, there was no debate to say, well, okay, we come and we spoke about this and we come to a conclusion. That side mentioned that, and we weigh the vibes and see how the vibes working out and look at it and check like, okay, that is a better solution than what we presented, so let us go with that. You check, but it's all about a political party and a me, a I. Like we,
Dominica in a state of emergency.
Because Pyro, you have no parliament can speak for the people
it's not just a matter of Paul rep speaking for people. My brother, people have to speak to this for themselves also. That is why I'm telling you now, at the end of the day, local government, which is the first line of the government in the society, as it needs to be stronger. People can be able to participate and contribute towards the budget debate. People in their community can say, well, okay, how we determining that this is the road that requires to be fixed? How? Huh? We don't have, for example, financial data to say, well, that area producing more than this area. So we cannot say, well, okay, for instance, let me see. If we take, for instance, Mary got Cassie Bruce and say, well, okay, Cassie Bruce has been declining and Mary got on the rise in productivity, so let us contribute a little more. Have a national plan such that we have a standard that we would like the communities to attain.
Yeah.
You check me? We don't have that.
Bureau of Standards.
So how we determining how the resources of the state have been dispersed, or how we determining how the resources of the state are going to be spent in the allocation of creating prosperity amongst our citizenry. How? Huh? We don't have no data. No? We don't have data. You check. We don't have data. A certain man that's coming and that's saying, well, look is this, look is that, look is this, look is that, and we just going with that. Like just take it and chuck it down your throat and what we say is that and that. My people will always rebel against them thing and they will find ways to rebel against them thing. Whether it is migration, brain drain, but people will find ways. You check me. People will find ways. And in the end, all of us going to suffer. All of us have been suffering. You check me. We have been suffering as a society, you know. We have been suffering as a society. So let me read a comment there from Celia Gordon. And Celia is saying that, can you believe it? The Caribbean islands must be laughing at us. Other countries are giving concessions and VAT exemptions on vehicles, import, new land transfers, import of animal feed, new home purchases, VAT reduction on any purchase exceeding 5,000 to 10,000, etc. Them man say they going to give VAT reduction for 6 months on corn beef, black eye beans, rice flour. What are the shame on our government? It's like these people don't realize the world is listening to the shit coming from their cabinet. And it's the same thing, you know. We not participating. You check the government. Whether the government structure doesn't allow for us to participate in our development, even in the conversation of what happening, you know, the way the government structure. See that we have had parliament for how many days now? 2, 3 days. Instead for it to free up the street, allow people to come to parliament, come and make, because parliament is the seat of us, the citizens of the land, you know. You check me? That is where our representation lies in government. But we are not even allowed to come near the parliament.
Drive your car past
Huh?
the parliament.
You're not even allowed to approach the parliament. It's like a military zone with fellas with big machine gun and dressing in military fatigues like it's a war zone not there, you know. You check. But that is our representatives. That is our representation in the government. We're supposed to be able to go there and make a contribution. You check. So again, where is the democracy? Where is the democracy? What is the plan? What is the plan? Like, them is the things we have to look at. All them things we have to look at. Because we have a lot of structural failures as a society. And those failures are causing people to not trust our state institutions, not trust our government, not even trust each other. You check me? And like Flacco just said, it causing us to not want to participate in nothing. You check? We just want to get out of this country because it's like we're in hell. But the only way is we that have to fix it. We that have to fix it, you know. You check? We have to show a willingness that we want to fix it. And part of the willingness is removing the Labour Party as an administrator. Because they have shown to us over 21 years. Well, they're in power for 25 years, from 2000. And we have had the same Prime Minister for 21 years. You check? Even if he say he has gone and resign in April gone there. He has gone and stepped down, but he's still there. So he has proved himself to be a liar numerous occasions. And you know a liar is a vole. There is a sacrifice, so and we just there in that cycle. We check and we have to recognize. We have to recognize as a society when something is not working for us as a collective, even as individuals, and definitely as a collective, this Labour Party administration, it not getting it. They not. So is we just going and keep riding our ignorance and say, well, boy, my party is my party, and for 20 years, what we gonna do? Suffer? Huh? Politicians will be politicians and they will get their own, You check me? But we as the society, we have to see to it that we can get something for ourselves. You check me? And it's time we come to the realization that this thing about marrying ourselves to political parties, my brother, we have to rethink that and look at the approach. Look at our approach to our problems, how we resolving our issues. Right now we're crying down the violence and the gun violence and the this and the that, but look at us. Huh? Look at us. We sticking to our ignorance and we sticking to yes, my party is my party. So when the man and them stick to their thing now, huh? Well, we have to be able to have that logic thinking, have that logical approach to allow information, allow data to drive our reasoning, to drive our decisions. You check? And we seeing it in our face, it glaring. You check me, we experiencing it. You check? We seeing the degradation in the society. You check me? Nobody do have to tell it to us or explain it to us. We seeing it, we experience it, we feeling it, every day.
The outward violence is one thing, Byron. You check me? The outward violence, you hit a thing there. The outward violence is one thing. But let us look at the unseen violence. You check me? Which is when we turn our back on each other and allow, because that person not part of our party or the supporting our party, that we allow them to become marginalized. We allow them to not be represented. We allow them to be silenced and cast aside. You check me? I believe that is violence too. And I believe that is where violence starts. You check I saying? Because with that violence there, it's not outward like the violence we see, That is a inward violence that lying down in your heart, my brother. You check me? The only act is to turn your eye away, to say nothing, You check me? And to allow your brother to die, To say, well, your brother that fighting to feed his child there, his children and his family is less Dominican because they're not supporting your party. So that is not violence. You check? And then we will pretend that the people that pulling the trigger, we're different from them. You understand? But that is what that creating the breeding ground for the kind of violence we see in. Because we seeing it, And I don't see on either side, neither red, neither blue, nobody able to do nothing to respond to it. You check me? So the question I ask myself is, okay, if we don't tolerate violence and we seeing the violence escalating, and we saying we not for violence, we not for, you check me? How much violence we going to tolerate? How far we going to let it go? You check me? Because eventually, I see if we don't address those things there, not just that, but across the board, if we don't address our issues, then things could easily, you know, come to the point of political violence. You understand? Where people start to get violent with each other because of politics. You know, and that might be happening already. So we're playing with fire, my people. We're playing on the razor's edge. You check me? When you create a situation of despair by turning a blind eye to people that marginalize, people that you have help there for, you check me, you have social programs for those people. And instead of allowing the help to go to the people that deserve it, you yourself in your position of comfort, you abuse those programs. You check me? You take from the people that vulnerable. You create a desperate situation for those people. You create a situation of despair for that family. You create a situation where at 16 years, a youth man want to go and risk his life, go Guadeloupe, and already done experience how much things, maybe kill people, maybe rob how much people. By the time that man 20 years old, that man live a kind of a life. You check I telling you? So it's our indifference. It's our turning a blind eye. It's our silence that creating the monsters that out there, brother. You check I saying? So when we talk about violence, and we say we're not violent, and we're not for violence, being for a party and discriminating against other people and separating yourself from people already is an act of violence. Because if you're not for, you're against, brother. And once you separate yourself, then you're against other people. We need to talk, when we talk about unity, we need to talk appreciating the goodness in everybody, you check me, and start to work with what, if it's that you have, brother, then let us start to build on what you have. You check I telling you? So we cannot, people not disposable, let us not try and cast people aside and, you know, it have some rotten eggs, it have some that, you know, but we have to take things into proper perspective, and we have to do some introspection and weigh our hat on this skill. Anyway, and that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, Flanco, you're so right about what you just said. Yeah, my brother.
Politics and everything and stuff like that. It's massive game and it's fucking up the places.
The issue is not politics, my brother. It's partisanship.
Partisanship, man.
Politics is in everything, but partisanship,
That's
they,
what I mean. It's like party politics.
they put in of that partisan thing
That's
in
the
all
thing.
aspects of the society.
Mashing up the places.
Yeah.
And you know, you just start to
So
see
again,
the people that sit down and watching the program and things like that.
again to me,
You to come out in that ignorance, man, by
yeah, part of it is an educational issue. We have an,
ignorance to check it first.
we have an educational issue, but more so,
You know, I could be wrong,
we have an issue of we being able to acknowledge that we're going wrong.
Yeah.
You check. We have to acknowledge we're going wrong.
Yeah, man.
You check me. This thing about we just,
Nobody can correct you but yourself.
you check. That thing about we just have to be right. You have to be right. You have to be right. Like, nah, man, you have to have the humility to see to yourself. I made a poor decision, you know. Yeah, I made a poor decision, man. And in retrospect, I cannot just keep on going down the road saying, nah, my decision was, no. We supposed to, we supposed to be able to sit down with ourselves and admit to yourself, boy, Pyro, you know you was wrong. You see what you do there, you was wrong, 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 wrong. Rather you have to fix that. You check. We supposed to be able to tell ourselves them thing before even somebody tell it to us, or even when somebody tell it to us. We supposed to be able to recognize to ourselves. Rather from you tell me, boy, you know that wasn't a good decision. You and yourself, instead of you trying to argue well, your decision is your decision. You're supposed to be able to sit down with yourself, my brother, and listen to what the man tell you. So if Flacco come and tell me, boy, voting for Labour Party, that wasn't a good thing. See where we are today, my brother. But I'm not supposed to be there trying to argue with Flacco and say, well, yeah, but my decision is my decision. My party is my party. I'm supposed to be able to listen and check, well, okay, even if I don't say nothing, even if I, but I'm supposed to be able to sit down with myself and my conscience and say, well, okay, Pyro, you had Flacco just tell you there. How it really go down in the belly of that thing and see what go on. And check, well, okay, boy, when you look at what them man doing, Chinese, by there, sometimes I myself cannot get a work. You check, look at the level of inflation in the society, my brother. You check the level of people just not capable of doing job, but they have them office. You check me? The level of corruption. You check when you look at man like Kasani Laville, have a company getting a no bid tender contract, huh, to build grammar to be consultants on grammar school, my brother. You check me? Man supposed to walk away with what? How much millions of dollars as the consultant on a project of that magnitude? You check? And what? Most of the people that work in there and people that there is not even local, man. Well, in the contractor they employ some local man, but the level of corruption, my brother, a minister, you check, a minister, you know. So when I sit down with myself and I check in, boy, them things there, it not right. Plus the trend the government taking, that as if they want to provide everything for everybody. That cannot be. Allow people to come up with their solutions because people have their solutions. People know what they want to do with their life. Everybody have their life to live in. You cannot dictate to a man how to live his life. Oh, what trend he should go, what he should do.
What
You
milk
check
to
me.
drink? Almond milk, soy
You,
milk.
you understand?
You check.
A man have his good
Petty
character.
rubbish, my boy.
You and your good character. You hold in yourself. My brother, the society is supposed to be free for you to be able to do what you want to do. You check me? Not that kind of a thing about you have to go and bow down and beg to a politician and bend over for them and to try and bull you, my brother. Them thing is nonsense. You check? Rubbish that there, boy. And people will always fight that down. You check me? And history show it to us. See China. China had hardcore communism, way. You check? Hardcore communism where they had their people like, yeah, and where it bring them in poverty. China in what the 1940s had the great famine and depression and all kind of thing. How much people starved to death and all kind of shit. You check me? But they realize that not working, you have to free people. What China have now? China basically right now is what? The largest capitalist country in the world. Because even America moving away from capitalism. But China realize and since they've been moving away from it, the Americans, it has led to their decline. Because you start to restrict people.
Yeah,
You start to impose your will on people.
yeah,
But what the Chinese do? They liberate their economy
yeah,
and
man.
allow people to do what they want to
Not just
do.
that,
And
not just that, Pyro.
the state facilitating
They
it.
start to export
But
their brand.
yeah, but what I say, even it's true, they liberalize their economy and allow people to do what they want to do, you know. They be able to be able to export, you know. Because remember before that now, they had export, but it was foreign companies, the
Yes,
Americans and Ray
yes.
and But they liberalize their people, allow their people to do what they want to do.
But that I tell you,
Whatever
Pyro,
company you want to create, because the state assisting you.
you just
They
see
in
that
an environment where business just it's
booming, boy.
prosperity people looking for
More
higher.
millionaires, boy, it have in
You
China,
check me,
boy.
America now, what they do, they play their hand. Right now they want to fight with everybody. Tariff, tariff, tariff by there, this, that by there. At the end of the day, you kind of recognize what each Trump trying and play, but once you see it start to go down them kind of a road of restriction, 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 trying to impose your will on people, you go in and get yourself in a tie up. You
And not
check.
just that, you doing all that, and then on the other side of your mouth now, you're talking about free, you believe in free market economics.
Exactly, that is not free market economics. Free market economics is the market that determining the vibes, you
You
know.
understand what
You
I'm telling
check.
you?
And China realize that, they see it, and that is what that allow them to grow. They free their people, even if they have a communist. Yes, they have a communist state, one party, but the people, what they realize, they separate the politics from the economics, and they allow the economics and the culture to grow.
Yeah.
You check. So the economic political system, it separate. You check. They separate that, and they agree. Let the economy do its thing. Stop trying to impose your will on people. That is the only way people have to be free, my brother. And if you look at any country that has been prosperous, it has been the time when people has been free. You check me? Allow people to come up with their solutions. Allow people to deal with their life. Allow people to come up with their solution. Create the environment where people can have access to funding, and implement those access to funding and provide solutions to their issues. Provides, because the economy, what is an economy now? The basic sense of an economy. What is it? Huh? Our economy is just our activities. Whatever activity we choose to do,
Creating the
to,
economy.
to create, to generate wealth, to generate money, revenue,
To
that is
generate
the
value and
economy.
transfer it,
That is the economy. Whatever we decide to trade, whatever we decide, that is the economy. Our trading activities. You check, that is an economy. So our activities that create. So if you limit us and we cannot participate in the activities we want to participate in, then how are we going to have an economy now? The more of us that can do that is the better for all of us. But
You
when you
see?
try to limit most of us, my brother, you just destroying us, you're destroying the economy. You check.
How much?
So that whole budget program thing, that is a fast. You check. That is a straight
Regular
fast.
paragraph.
You check. Up to now, no discussion, no debate, no nothing. It's just
No
man come
data.
and present their thing and do their thing, no data, no implement. That's a rubbish that, my brother. You check me.
Yeah, Pyro. Because you can't tell me. You check me. You crying about a reduction in government revenue and blah 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 blah. But what is it that happening with the government revenue? A lot of frivolous spending, my brother. You check me. Starting with that $64,000 a month. You understand? So rather than use that revenue, and that is typical with governments across the board, you check me. Governments typically don't create or generate money, they don't generate value. They basically find ways to spend money. You check, I telling you. So that is why it is in the interest of any government for them to have a growing healthy tax base. You check me? That is the base for the government revenue, right? It's taxation. So if the more people you have, working productively, actively creating value and an economy, a healthy, robust economy where, of course, because then you have better stock turnover. When you have better turnover, you have better cash flow. And when anytime you're talking about small business, you're talking about cash flow, my friend, because for ask any small business owner, cash flow is a imperative. You understand? The minute you start to go without, a cash flow, then the bills pile up, you start to fall behind, and then, any number of things can go wrong. So when you hear of a lot of these small businesses um, being owed by the very same government, by the very same state, you check I telling you, and unable to recuperate those funds in a timely manner, then I understand the burden of people like that. You check, yet still we have no incentive, no relief, no nothing given, no, you know, to encourage greater participation or a little growth for these people there who've been, making the best out of very little, you know. When we talk about sustainable, I think these are the things that we're talking about. We are talking about, of course, we must be manufacturing for us to be sustainable. So the very same smoke herring that you're talking about there, I hear somebody was commenting. So why we do have a smoke fish industry? You check me. If we want to cut down on, you know on the importation of those things there, why don't we create our own? You know, look, we have Benos doing thing we have Benos in tongue we doing smoked chicken and thing. Benos can expand into other things. You check I telling you, but that is just one small business. You check I saying you. Yes, but yes, but like I saying, it shouldn't just be the abattoir because you have a whole private sector there that people they're waiting to, So if you create the incentives for people, and then you can create that job security, Pyro was talking about there, by, you know, now having a reason to impose certain taxation on certain goods coming in, because we are already creating those. But then we see that the government not ready to take on that challenge of reducing their spending. You check me? And allowing the private sector, allowing the economy to grow, allowing them to have a tax base. Even before their promises of, we're going to have uh, uh, a spike in population, or you're going to have an influx of population after the international airport, and all these future projections and promises and so on. When we have things that we can do immediately to alleviate our plight right now, you check. So I don't know if you want to chime in, Tola.
Yeah, after all, I always have things to say, no, my lord. There's a lot to say. As I tell you already, these people have no interest in we as a people. It's just pure bogus shit, pure nonsense when I come to Pyro, man. You know, what is it that therefore we as a people Rasta for 20 years now? Instead, we do better, we going worse. So we need to realize that it's not working for us and shake up ourselves first and get rid of that old system that not functioning for us. We can do better as a people. We need to stop telling ourselves, who are we? Who is us? And to give ourselves some confidence, that we can do better, and we know we deserve better. If every day everybody will at least wake up and tell themselves, boy, we deserve better and we can do better, the change will come. But we just sit down and telling ourselves, who are we? Some of us have our little shop, our little thing, and we're saying, boy, so it is, we think slowly, and it's not so it is, Rasta. Because of we not working, we cannot afford to purchase anything. Your business wouldn't grow because you have nobody to come and contribute, Rasta. You have how much major projects going on and people not working. I watching how much young men sit down in Eggleston, they're like it's like they're all ready to go mad, my boy, because nothing really for them to do. And you have a big project going on. You have a big apartment building in Eggleston, between Eggleston and Jordan. And how much young man there's there, ass. The next solution I seen for a lot of the